Hey guys, this is Brutal Bob Evans from Hangs with Bob Seminars and TheWrestleLife.com, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.
What's up, everybody? This is Gold, Girls, and Glory, Bam Bam Malone, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hey, this is the top guy, Griffin McCoy, representing Young, Dumb, and Broke and Punk Star Posse, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to the show at Wrestling with Entertainment, bringing you the latest exclusive breaking news, previewing and reviewing the latest shows from WWE, AEW, New Japan, everything in between every Saturday, and interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox, sponsored by Rogue Energy. Use promo code WrestlingWithE for 10% off your next purchase. I am, of course, your host, James J., alongside Kaliko Yachts, who's running a little late today, but who is actually on time, Scooter Dust.
I keep looking for my mother-in-law's killer, but nobody will do it.
And it's a great day for wrestling, because we are wrestling with the White Kana, Young Kata, the New Hook, Top Guy, boujee boy, Griffin McCoy.
Hey, what's up? This is Griffin McCoy.
How are you, Griffin?
I'm doing well. Just been wrestling a lot recently, wrestling at places like JCW, Jersey Championship Wrestling, Hybrid Wrestling, hopefully the borders open up soon so I can go back to Canada, maybe go over to the UK. But yeah, just been doing a lot of wrestling recently, which has been really fun.
And what you got coming up?
Coming up, so this weekend I'm depending on what it airs, but so this weekend, the 28th of August, I'm going to NCW. It's in West Virginia. I'm returning there. Yes, that'll be fun. What else have I got coming up? I know I'm going to be back for Hybrid Wrestling when they come back in September, and I have to actually pull up my calendar right now. I know in September as well, I'm wrestling for Invictus Wrestling. It's going to be me and my partner, Charlie Tiger. We're in a tag team match for a tag team title tournament. So I know we're about to win those straps, which is going to be fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are like the immediate things I got going on right now.
And where can we find you on social media and your merchandise?
Social media, I'm on both Twitter and Instagram, both at the Griffin McCoy, all one word. For my merchandise, you can obviously just hit me up through either my social media platforms, or you can email me at griffin.mccoysf@gmail.com.
And you don't even need to look for those handles. All the links to those websites will be in the description of the video below, both on YouTube and Castbox. Now, you come from CCW, and you recently worked for GCW as well. Can you tell us about your relationship with them?
With CCW and GCW?
Yes.
So CCW is where I started training. I started training there like a month after my 18th birthday, which is like November 2018, around that time. I did a couple shows before that, been around wrestling, but it was like the first time I ever like committed to a school and started training. But yeah, I started training there for like a few months, and then I got like my first opportunity on a main show, and the first time they ran House of Independence in Asbury Park, New Jersey, which a lot of companies have ended up running at. And I just wrestled there this weekend twice for Global Syndicate Wrestling. They just ran a couple shows. But yeah, I started training there, started getting on the main show a little bit, just like random opportunities, started doing the Dojo Wars system. But eventually, I ended up joining Young, Dumb, and Broke. And the funny thing is, it was so me and the other guys in Young, Dumb, and Broke were all best friends, like in real life. We all actually have like been friends before wrestling. We met Jordan like through like wrestling a little bit, but we were all friends before we ever got into wrestling. So we all were training at CZW at the time, which led to us being put into the group of Young, Dumb, and Broke. And from there, we debuted back at the House of Independence. It was like the second time that place has ever been run at. And that's when Young Dumb debuted. It was Jordan versus Rich Swann. More like Young Dumb versus Rich Swann, because we all beat him up. But yeah. But yeah, so we did that, and that kind of started the journey of Young, Dumb, and Broke. We've been traveling the roads ever since, crossing state lines, crossing country borders. And eventually, GCW was like already kind of running at the time. Of course, they did the infamous run-in on CCW at Cage of Death. That was my first ever Cage of Death I like helped out at. And they just kind of pulled up, which was like super crazy. But yeah, from there we've like, we've always had kind of like a close, we've always been on the radar of GCW. But eventually, I don't know when it started. I know Jordan started wrestling for GCW. He debuted at the House of Independence in like a scramble match. But yeah, we've always been kind of hanging around, like lurking, causing trouble around GCW. I know we got our first team debut on GCW at it was called The World on GCW. It was run out of the Voltage Lounge in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And that was like the day before like quarantine and lockdown, like literally the day before everything got locked down. So it was like I think it was like the last wrestling show that ran before like, global pandemic shut the entire world down. So, but yeah, debuted there, and we've been like wrestling on like, within the GCW universe, I would say, like obviously like hybrid wrestling, Jersey Championship Wrestling, right. Done a little bit more GCW. It all like kind of falls into that same umbrella. So we've been partnered with them ever since, wrestling all the other young guys and, making our way up that card, making our name throughout the world and throughout the country.
All right. Now, Scooter, you have a question.
Yes, and of course, I love the shout out to Asbury Park. I'm right across the water in New York City. I came up and trained through the NYWC, nice. with Matt Cardona, John Silver, Alex Reynolds, and those guys.
Oh, not Matt Cardona, man.
I
like all those other guys, but Matt Cardona, I don't know about that guy, Chief.
I don't think Scooter was too sure about him back then either. So he understands.
Well, we saw more of Brian than we did of Matt. So
okay.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Going by your Instagram page, at this point in time, you were supposed to compete in the UK for LDN. Is that correct?
Yes, I was supposed to be over there. I was supposed to be over there like right now.
Mm-hmm.
But everything's just been so crazy with the whole process. Big shout out to LDN Wrestling though. They've been super helpful with me with everything, super understanding. The entire time we've been trying to get this thing together, there's been like, the country's been locked down and they'll lift the restrictions a little bit and they'll put them back on. And then, I'd either confirm or cancel by a certain date so I can get like, my money back, I guess. And by the time that date rolled around, the country still had its full lockdown, full restrictions. And I think they might have lifted them, but at this point it was like too late, for the flight. So I ultimately had to pull out. Like it was literally like the last minute decision the day of before my flight had to get canceled, and nothing had changed. So, it was. I really wish I was over there, but I'm so certain I will be back. Hopefully by next spring to summer, that things will be like totally normal over there. Or, not totally normal, but as normal as can be at this point.
Right.
All right. I'm gonna just move in with a little follow-up question here. You, of course, as we said, you come from CZW, infamous for the Dojo Wars. Now, on Wrestling with Entertainment, we kind of abide by Cage Match's match database. That's not perfect, but it's what we have to work with.
I don't think
And
they like me very much.
well, something very interesting is that your third match ever as a part of CZW was a mixed tag match with Layla Hirsch, who is undoubtedly a big name in women's wrestling, but your opponents. Well, I'm only going to mention your male opponent was the one and the only, the owner of CZW, and the head guy in charge, DJ Hyde.
Yes.
How did that feel, being relatively new to the business, and all of a sudden, one of your first matches is against not only the owner of the company, but a man who has one of the most storied and violent reputations in the history of deathmatch wrestling?
So that match, I wrestled DJ Hyde, I think a week before that, on my first match at Dojo Wars. Because I think my first match ever for CZW was a scramble for Asbury Park. And then I debuted on Dojo Wars after that against DJ. And so I wrestled him one-on-one the week before. So that next time, it wasn't as bad because I knew what to expect. But the first time I wrestled him was a week before that, and I was absolutely crapping my pants because, I've been a fan of CZW since I was like 13. Actually, me, Ellis, and Charlie we're all local to the Philadelphia, New Jersey area. So we would always go to CZW like at their live shows. And so we were fully aware of who DJ Hyde is, of everyone on the roster, what CZW is about. But it just so happens it's the closest school to us. So, long story short, I knew well aware of what I was in for. And, luckily I survived that first match. But then the second one was DJ and Layla. And I know Layla for a little bit at this point, maybe a few months. And the first time I ever saw her and talked to her, I realized she was going to be a superstar one day. I think everyone comes to that assumption when they meet Layla for the first time. They're like, oh, she's a superstar. No duh. But it was interesting to be at that position, third match in CZW, second match on Dojo Wars, I'm wrestling, owner of CZW, DJ Hyde, and then versus paired with Layla, and to see where she's at now, it's super crazy because we both trained together, we both came up together. It is wild to see where she is at as of right now. She has, she's on TV every week. She's a bona fide wrestling superstar. She's an icon, to be honest, which is super awesome experience to be able to wrestle DJ and Layla in one of my first matches.
All right.
Now, going back to the pandemic part, how has the pandemic era wrestling affected your wrestling and wrestling in front of no crowd, and now ultimately having the crowd return?
So when the pandemic first hit, especially impacting wrestling, it was very difficult. I mean, not the most difficult because, I would say 95% of wrestlers go through a phase in their life where they are wrestling for 4 people in the crowd, and so I was kind of used to it somewhat, but then there'd be days where there's just nobody. It's just studio tapings. There's just the people filming it, referee, ring announcer, commentary table camera guys, and like to be kind of just thrust in those situations and be like, all right, you got to wrestle right now, was it's certainly mentally toughened me up, I guess. You know, because you don't have like the hype of the crowd, you don't have their energy. You just have to go there and just be purely like locked in on a mental aspect. You don't have the luxury of having a crowd bring you that energy, bring you that life. You have to pull that out of yourself. And for a wrestling match, like, wrestlers will understand how difficult that is. But you know, just for like to the normal person who's never like trained or never like wrestled, they don't understand like how tough that can be to be locked in and to even block out the pain. You know, like it is not easy to be a wrestler. Like people can say whatever they like. If you have stepped between those that four-sided circle, like, you know that wrestling is 100% real. And to have no fans to like give you that adrenaline, give you that energy, you feel everything in that ring. So especially now where fans are coming back, it has certainly made wrestling a lot easier, in my opinion, at least.
I would totally imagine that.
Sorry.
What?
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear that last part.
No, I said I could imagine that it's, great
yeah.
to have the crowd back and, have that reaction to what you're doing.
Yes, definitely.
Now, I know at the We Want Wrestling, which is CCW, they had, the wrestlers chanting and cheering and kind of filling that in. Did that help somewhat, or was it like kind of, I know that this is kind of like piping in noise, so to speak?
So, obviously for the We Want Wrestling, they did that, and like I've been like several places where they have done like the other wrestlers as like part of the crowd, and that's the toughest crowd to have. Like the other wrestlers like watching your matches and stuff like that, because other wrestlers, like, while they know, like, all right, we need to like pipe in some noise, well, you definitely know that, but they don't want to give you that reaction. They don't want to admit that either you're doing well. They'll be glad to boo you, but when you're doing well, it's a lot harder for them to like want to react positively. So I like to take it as a challenge of like, all right, like, I have to be so good that I gotta impress these other wrestlers. Like, I'm definitely in there to win, but I also know that like, hey, like, I need to pull out some stuff that's gonna impress these other wrestlers, because they've seen it all, or they do it all, and they're a harder audience to get involved with your match. So if you can get them to bite and them to be invested in what you're doing, like, that's when you're doing something pretty good.
All right. Scooter, you have a question.
Yes. Now, in going over your match history, anytime we have someone who has competed with certain people on the independent circuit, I have to ask what that experience is like. And you have competed with, and I believe also against, Gregory Iron. I have to ask what that experience was like, because I myself come from a background of working with the differently abled, and I have to believe that in working with him, with the adversity he overcomes every day in that ring and outperforms, most of the talent we see today, has to be a big confidence booster. So what was working with Gregory Iron like?
It was, working against Gregory Iron, like that whole night was, because that was the World on GCW night where it was the 6-man with me, Ellis, and Charlie versus 440 with Gregory Iron, Atticus Kogar, and oh my gosh, Eddie Only. And I've known about Gregory Iron like since I was a fan too. So that was another moment of like, oh wow, like I get to wrestle this guy, like obviously with his disability and all that, he's still like still a pretty kick-ass wrestler, like it was a very cool experience. And it's an honor to be able to wrestle a guy like that, to be able to mix it up in the ring. And we had a good match, and like that was the GCW official debut as well on like a main show right before a global pandemic. So it was definitely a very special experience, especially to be able to see him, be like in the ring with him and see how he still has that warrior spirit. To be a truly successful professional wrestler, I believe you really need to have that warrior spirit. You need to have, you need to have a tough mindset. And of all the guys who has that toughened mindset, that warrior mentality, it's got to be him. He's working at a disadvantage every night, but he's turned that disadvantage into his advantage, to be honest, and it's propelled him to push himself to heights that, a lot of guys on the indies have not reached. They haven't reached that sustainability and longevity that Gregory Iron has. So being able to share the ring with him was, it was a learning experience, and one that I won't forget.
All right.
And joining us now, a little late, but finally at the party, Kaliko Yachts.
Hey man, the first day of school, it's good when you drop them kids off. It's picking them up when you forget. That's the whole. That's the issue.
And do you have a question, Kaliko?
Actually, I do, because I want to say from 2018 to roughly to the pandemic, man, you were like one grinding guy. And I always say the best ability is availability. And I've always admired people who grind like that. And I always just want to dig into what's their mentality doing so many shows in that short of a span, especially in your first several years. So I must say it's very, very admirable.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And honestly, that is one of my favorite compliments to hear. Like a lot of people will blow smoke up your ass, like, oh, you're good, you're talented, or whatever. But when you get someone to be able to recognize your hard work, like that really means the world. But it really helps. And it really helps even to this day, being young, dumb, and broke, because obviously, like, we're not a bunch of idiots, and we're not broke anymore. But at that time, being at such that young age and already having that spotlight wrestling on one of the biggest independent wrestling companies at that time, which was CZW, all of us knew that a lot of people were not happy with us, fans and wrestlers alike, that these pretty much nobody young kids got a spot on one of the premier independent companies and got to have the opportunities that we had. So we felt that we have, and still to this day, we have a chip on our shoulder. I know every single one of us does, that we need to work harder and push farther than anybody else. So even at that young stage, we already had that mindset of, no one's going to want to give us an opportunity. So we are going to have to go as far and do as much as we can to obtain that opportunity and make people look at us and make people recognize that we are hard workers, that we are talented, that we're willing to sacrifice for this business that we love. Because, a lot of people do love wrestling, and love to be a wrestler or whatever, but I don't think many people realize how much sacrifice that takes to, not just be good, but to make a living, to make this your career. Like, it takes a lot of hard work and a lot of sacrifice. And that is something that, me and the other guys in Young Dumb and Broke that we always talk about, and that we always, try to stay on each other about, is keeping that hunger and keep that fire alive.
I appreciate that. And to follow up with that, what would you say was your biggest hurdle during that time span from a business standpoint? Because you would think, if you have a person who's willing to do as many shows as you did in that time frame, that it would be a welcoming sight.
Yeah. So there were many times, we traveled a lot in those days. So even now to this day, like, since everything's opening up, like, I'm looking at my calendar now, and I have a lot of places I'm going to that, like, I am not currently booked at, but I am going to, like, me and the other guys are just going to go and see what happens. But yeah, at that time, it was definitely not financially smart to be going to all of the shows that we were. And, because we did a lot of driving across the country, like a lot to the Midwest, down south, up north. And a lot of the time it was just for an opportunity. And maybe you get thrown like a few bucks for gas, but, that'd only be so much to cover like a tank of gas when you got to go through 4 tanks of gas total. So, it was a lot of just, I'm glad I started young, because it was a lot of just like, a lot of, money. I'm blessed to have a good family situation. I got people who are in my corner, who support me, who know how hard I work for this. So they're willing to help me out, so it was good that I started early and was able to, like, hopefully meet as many people as I can, establish as many connections as I could, so that, it would start to pay off a little bit sooner rather than later. And it's starting to pay off a little bit more now, but obviously, it went from being like 90% of the time opportunity to, like, I would say about 60-40, doing a little bit, making a little bit of that money back. But yeah, definitely just getting on shows and just getting opportunity to wrestle was our main goal. Like, money was not the goal. It's still not even the goal right now. I don't think it's going to be the goal for a while, but it's just to just get better at my craft. That's all it is.
Well, speaking of getting better at your craft, at the Great American Smash, I believe it was 2 months ago, Young Dumb and Broke beat Billie Starkz, Janai Kai, and Jody Dredd.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us about that match? Because that sounds like the dream team, and I would imagine a lot of people would have said, "Oh, well, they're not winning that match." You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think a lot of people definitely doubted us coming into that match. However, I will say, like, not to knock anybody, but I think production sometimes could be a little bit better. But you could, like, the crowd mics were like muted or something was off. But like, when we came out, we got probably one of the biggest, like, ovations that we have gotten. Like, me and Ellis and Charlie, like, coming out as a team. Like, when we came out, like, the place, like, not to cliche, but, like, it erupted. They like, people were singing the song, they were chanting Young Dumb, and I think that was a pivotal moment for us to be, like, where I think people realize that, like, all right, these kids are coming up. They're not just kids anymore. They can see the work we've all been putting in. Like, these are young men who are, serious athletes. But winning that match definitely solidified that thought as well. So, and that kicked off a pretty nice win streak that we're riding out so far, which is pretty nice too. So, but it was definitely very nice to get that win. I think it changed the outside perception of Young Dumb a lot. that went from, these are just like, people knew they were serious wrestlers, but, we just did a lot of maturing in this past couple of years. Everything with the pandemic and, personal losses that we've all experienced. I think that all came to a turning point at the Great American Bash, where Young Dumb went from a bunch of like young kids to young men.
And you actually got the W on Billie Starkz, who was probably
I did.
the biggest indie darling to date right now. We love Billie on the show, friend of the show. So what was that? How did that feel personally to get that W?
It felt good, but it's funny because we've known Billie. Well, I've known her ever since I started wrestling, pretty much. We've always been out to like Indiana and like Ohio, and she's been wrestling since what I think she's
13, I believe.
17 now. Yeah. So she's been wrestling for like, I think she may have started like a little bit before us, but like we have known her since like the start, basically, at least the start of our careers. So seeing how she has just like progressed, and like has turned into, she's like an indie sensation too. Like she is everywhere. She's on like every show. She has a huge following, and like meeting her like the first day, like I always knew she was kind of like a kooky cat, I would guess. but she has like turned that to be one of the most like endearing characters and wrestlers like on the independent scene right now. Like people love Billie. But that being said, being able to beat Billie felt even better because I think me and the guys are trying to not be as big of assholes anymore, but I'm still a bit of an asshole. And knowing the crowd probably, even though while they were cheering for us in the beginning, they definitely wanted to see all those chicks beat us up.
Oh,
and
yeah.
like, they definitely wanted to see those chicks beat us up. And be able to like beat Billie, like personally beat her, it felt so good. The crowd was not about it at all. They were very disappointed. But it's almost like playing an away game for a sport. Like being able to shut up or get a negative reaction from the home crowd. It really fuels you. Some people will shy away from that, but personally, I feed into that sometimes, and like that really drives my competitive nature. And like just hearing that, like it felt really good to beat Billie Starkz. And hopefully one day I can beat her again. Because I've done it once. I mean, I can do it as many times as I want now. I got it unlocked. So anytime she wants it, she can get it.
That's what I was going to ask, because she's made it evident that she kind of singled you out on social media. So is there a singles match between Griffin McCoy and Billie Starkz in our future?
I mean, there's got to be at some point, right? But I think she's ducking me right now. I think all signs completely point to at some point we should have a match. And, I don't know how well I can make that happen, but I think she can make it happen. And I don't think she wants to make it happen. So, not calling her a coward or nothing, but, I think she's trying to duck Griffin McCoy at the moment. But, it will definitely come to pass. The universe works in mysterious ways. I'm not a big believer in fate, but I believe everything happens for a reason and everything is connected to something. So I'm pretty sure at some point, me and Billie Starkz will happen down the line. Nothing's been concrete yet. No one said anything to me, but I have a feeling me and Billie Starkz, our paths will cross again.
All right. Scooter, you have a question.
Yes, at first I just want to say we do not advocate calling broads chicks here on Wrestling with Entertainment. Okay. Let's see. Which one? Okay.
Don't forget the Burger King question.
I'll Burger King you.
Sure.
Someone I have a little bit of a personal history with, by sheer happenstance, is Jimmy Rave. And you did a very well scripted promo called No Apology. And you wrestled Jimmy about a year and a half, unfortunately, before his
Untimely retirement.
and, uh so first, do you remember what flavor of Black and Mild you lit up at the start of that promo? And two, given what has happened with Jimmy, was wrestling him at that point in time an indication of what he would eventually be going through?
So to answer the first question, I don't think that was a black. I mean, it definitely wasn't a Black and Mild. It was a, I think it was a grape flavored game leaf.
Okay.
That might have had tobacco in it, possibly, or something else. But I'm not gonna go on that part. But anyways, wrestling Jimmy at that time was huge for me. It was huge. It's still one of the biggest matches of my career. Just being able to, well, the first time I wrestled him, it did not go well for me. I got pinned in like a minute. My girlfriend Valentina broke up with me and slapped me in the face on like, the grandest stage of CZW. But so the first time wasn't great. But then being able to wrestle him at Cage of Death, where it was me and the boys versus him, Steve Monster Mac, and Azrael, that match was very special to me and all the guys. Because obviously being go ahead.
It's a very funny story, because that was around the time he started to slow down, and by sheer happenstance, he contacted me on Twitter to help with the unforeseen medical expenses that would eventually go on to be a GoFundMe, and I'm immediately sketch about stuff like that because you never know who's exactly messaging you, and I wanted to make sure it was him because I was willing to legit help a fellow wrestler, especially somebody like Jimmy Rave. And I believe I asked him about that match specifically because Azrael is also a friend of mine, and Mac I don't personally go way back with, but back in 2003, and I asked him specifically about that match, and I'm just remembering that now, and I love the sheer coincidence of how everything just connects. And now that I've veered us off topic, would you say, Jimmy, what would you say was the biggest thing that Jimmy taught you going forward?
Man, Jimmy has taught me the most out of anybody has ever taught me. And, he's, whatever the situation is, he is truly one of the greatest minds of professional wrestling. If things were different, if personal situations were different, I would totally believe that Jimmy would be on TV right now, making a lot of money with all the other dudes that he came up with who are making a lot of money right now. But I think the biggest thing he ever taught me was I don't know. I think he taught me, maybe not just by saying it, but he taught me that wrestling is an unexpected journey, and it will take you many places in your life, but you just need to stay focused and stay positive. And, you know, if you just do that, you don't expect anything from it, it will give you some of the greatest experiences of your life, and possibly, definitely some very low lows. But, you know, at the end of the day, the destination is not what makes wrestling beautiful. It's the journey of wrestling. It's the experiences you have. It's the people you meet. It's the connections you make. You know, and that's what he taught me, is to enjoy those moments of, you know, having connections and having once in a lifetime experiences. That is what makes wrestling so special, and what makes being a wrestler, you know, so amazing. Such a privileged experience.
That's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you.
I have a follow-up question. You know, you said in your first match with Jimmy it lasted a minute. The match Scooter was specifically talking about, I believe it went 20. So, can you tell us what was your initial reaction to that match when you had it? And what is your reaction to that match now, hindsight being 2020?
The first match or the 6-man?
The 20-minute match.
The 20-minute. Oh, the one where I wrestled him on Dojo Wars 1-on-1. Is that the one you're referring to?
I believe so, yes.
Yes. So that match, I think that match taught me a whole lot too. Obviously, the first thing I said taught me a whole lot, but that match, being able to wrestle him, we went like 20 something minutes, like maybe, I think around like 20ish. I think a little above. I haven't watched that match in a minute, but that match was I've been very privileged to wrestle a lot of veterans in this business and people who have been across the world and have, you know, made a career, made a living out of wrestling. But he is the one guy that has like achieved the most success over a very long amount of time in this business and wrestled the best people that this business has to offer. And wrestling that match was it was similar to my DJ Hyde match on my very first match ever on Dojo Wars. Like, I knew exactly who Jimmy Rave is. I knew exactly what he was about. I knew like the level of athlete and performer and wrestling mind that he is. So I was very intimidated to be wrestling him. However, I knew in that moment that I could not show that intimidation. I could not shy away from this moment. I had to grab that moment by the balls, and I had to take it. And in that match, I felt like I took that moment. I took that match. I lost, but, you know, it did not feel like a loss, because if you learn something from your losses, they're never truly losses. You know, they're just learning experiences. And that match was probably one of the biggest learning experiences I ever had, just from like a pure wrestling mind and like a mental aspect of wrestling.
And now looking back at it, hindsight 2020, what is maybe a big takeaway from it?
Guess a big takeaway from it is that I can hang with anybody. You know, like at that stage, you know, I'm a very confident guy, almost to a fault. However, at that time, I was definitely super confident to a fault. But I think, you know, looking back and being at that young, I think I was 19 at the time. You know, I'm only 21 now, but still, over the past couple of years, it's felt like a lifetime. But knowing at that stage of my career where obviously I was traveling, but I hadn't really done anything at that point, to know that I could hang in there with like a premier wrestler. He's truly a master of his craft. You know, there are not too many guys, a little bit more now with people who have been unfortunately released but are now on this indie scene or have come back, who are, you know, masters like Davey Richards and like Austin Aries was even there this weekend, but like the Jimmy Rave falls into that category of like a master of his craft. And being able to know that I wrestled a master of their craft and was able to keep up, if not excel, then, that's even more of a confidence boost to me now thinking about it. At that time, I know I was buzzing after that match, but even now thinking back to that, like, oh wow, I really wrestled Jimmy Rave in like a 20+ minute match, like main event kind of style. Like we went hard as fuck. Like knowing I did that, it just goes to show like, hey man, I was born to do this. I was born to be a wrestler. I was born to, one day to become a master of my craft and, take wrestling to new heights.
All right. Delicto, you have a question.
On to lighter issues. There was recently a poll that was conducted, and they said that you were the handsomest member of Young, Dumb, and Broke. Is it safe to say that you're the Justin Timberlake of Young, Dumb, and Broke?
Oh, I am Justin Timberlake, Ryan Gosling, Leonardo DiCaprio, Zac Efron, Daniel Craig. Oh, I love Daniel Craig. But
one of them Jonas Brothers.
Yeah. You know what? Throw all three of them besides the one who's ugly. I know two of them. I know one of them's married to. Oh man, she's like I think she's like a Middle Eastern
Priyanka Chopra.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But yeah, I'm essentially all those rolled into one. I don't even know why. When I first checked that poll, Jordan had the most votes at like the beginning, and I was shocked. Jordan, I love my guy. I love all my guys in Young, Dumb, and Broke, but oh my God, all those dudes can break a mirror by staring into it. I am not gonna lie. They are.
Wow.
I know. I don't really care if this gets back to them because we're brothers. I don't care. But goddamn, I was just more worried for the fans who were voting because I would have recommended all of them to get their eyes checked if they voted for somebody else, and I lost that. But because it is just like it is apples and oranges when it comes to who is handsome and who is not handsome in Young, Dumb, and Broke. It is, Charlie, he's got a look. He's a type, burly dude with the mutton chops and the long hair. Like, I get younger Jordan when we were like 18, 19, he was like, skinny, young, pretty boy, kind of like boyish, good charms. But nowadays he's just looking real scruffy. He's got that kind of husky, like he's been wrestling a lot, so he's got some miles on him right now. So none of those guys compare to Griffin McCoy. That's all I'm gonna say. A lot of other wrestlers, man. A lot of people like to say they're handsome, and this is like a common theme without wrestling, where it's a bunch of dudes saying like, "I'm a handsome Jimmy Buffett" or whatever, and like they're ugly as hell. And there's a lot of those guys right now. But I don't like to like to talk about how handsome I am, but like because it should just be obvious. That's all I'm gonna say.
So basically, they're both
disrespected.
I am a little disrespected. There was like several people. I thought I was gonna lose at one point, and I was really disrespected because I get you might like the other, you might like the other ones for being wrestlers or whatever. But if we're going off of pure scientific fact, there is no way that Griffin McCoy is not the most handsome member of Young, Dumb, and Broke. That's all I'm gonna say.
So they're both Joey Fatone.
I don't know who that is, but if he's ugly, then yes.
That's the fat NSYNC member for everyone.
I only know JT, baby, so that's all.
He's like, I'm Beyonce. The rest of y'all are whatever.
Yeah, right. All the other Destiny Child children. I don't know. I just know Beyonce. I know. I don't know. I know the other two Jonas Brothers. I don't know the other one. That's all I'm gonna say.
how often do you remind the other members of Young and Dumb that you are the most handsome member?
So I don't, because they would get really hurt about it if I just kept talking about how handsome I was all the time compared to them. They would be their feelings would be hurt. You
Ugly
know?
people don't have feelings.
Pretty much, man. Maybe I will start telling them, put them in their place a little bit more. But I don't like to stress it a lot. I think, when we all pull up somewhere and the ladies are looking at us, I think we all realize who they're looking at. So that, I don't have to do the talking. I love talking, but I don't have to do the talking about my looks. My looks, they speak for themselves.
Now, let's go on to another match you had with legit Layla Hirsch. The Dojo One match.
Yes.
What could you tell us about that match?
That match, oh man. That match was cool. Obviously that's super generic, but obviously that was a cool match. I
Agreed.
think at that time she was already starting to she was already been on the main shows a bit. She was starting to be on the rise. I don't know if she went to Germany yet before that, or maybe it was right before she went to Germany to go to train at WXW. But it was sometime in around that time frame. So at that point, we were all just waiting for the day that she got the call.
Right.
At a certain point of that time period, all right, Layla's gonna be on TV at some point. It's just a matter of time. And lo and behold, here we are. But at that time, I wasn't sweating that much, because I'd known Layla for 2.5 years at that point. Obviously, you see each other multiple times a week, train together. You have that bond. But I think that was the first time we ever got to have a match one-on-one. So we had a good match. It was really fun, competitive, hard-hitting. And that's one thing that I will always Layla's a super dope at a million things, but she will never hold back. She gives her top 100% every time she's in the ring. And I know dude wrestlers who will not even give a fraction of it. They will give 25% on a nightly basis. But Layla, however, she will give 100% into every match. She gave her 100%. I feel the same way. I need to give 100 to 110% every single night I'm out there, because she too is a warrior. Obviously super personable, has that charisma, has that glow, but I think everyone knows that Layla Hirsch is a warrior. And that night especially, it did not feel like, intergender match, boy versus girl. It felt like warrior versus warrior that night. And I know one day me and Layla will mix it up again too. So, that's the one I'm going to be very excited for. Whenever we get to wrestle in the future, I know we're going to have, it's going to be a clash of warriors.
That's awesome. Scooter, you have a question. Did we lose Scooter?
No, you did not.
Ah.
Okay. Now, I may have this incorrect because I'm not sure how much of it is actually legit, but I'm gonna go for it. And if there's egg on my face, so be it. We love crazy stuff here at Wrestling with Entertainment. Anytime talent does something related to backyard wrestling or anything like that, a lot of stuff that was done during the pandemic, we love that kind of stuff. Tell us about your experience with Grimm's Toy Show.
Yes. So that is where I got my first. It's that weird kind of middle ground between backyard wrestling, because it's definitely backyard wrestling too, but they have had like many like actual wrestlers on Grimm's Toy Show. So, but you know, whatever it is, you know, everyone knows Grimm's Toy Show, and like, you know, Grimm's Toy Show has a lot of people who watch it. You know, like a lot of it has a huge following, like more than like half of these independent wrestling companies. Like they wish they had the clout that Grimm Toy Shows has, you know. But yeah, you know, when I was like 17, I was able to like get an opportunity at Grimm's, and like for the first bit, I just wrestled the other guys in Young Dumb and Broke because we all did Grimm's Toy Show. But I will say there have been dudes who have come out of Grimm's Toy Show, like I don't know if you guys know TJ Crawford, but he started out. He obviously trained at like Creative Pro and like got his start and you know, doing all that. But he wrestled on Grimm's Toy Show as well. And so I've known TJ Crawford even before I started training. And so you know, obviously like we're still like boys now, and like it's kind of funny to see where we come from, such like humble beginnings. But you know, I will say like I had a great time at that stage of my life wrestling the Grimm's Toy Show. I got to wrestle my friends the entire time, and we got to beat the crap out of each other, and we just did like ridiculous segments, and you know, it was a fun time. Like I have like no regrets about doing Grimm's Toy Show. I don't know if I go back now, but like Grimm's Toy Show definitely helped me get my mark. I still got a lot of people hitting me up about if I ever go back. You know, if he pays me a lot of money, I definitely would. But but no, I had a great time. I did a lot of like ridiculous stuff on there, just like you know, going off of like ladders and like, you know, I wrestled like Robbie E, who's now Robert Stone on NXT. Like
Robbie.
Like, yeah, I wrestled him. I wrestled Red Titus, who is part of the Foundation on Ring of Honor and like a former tag team champion and he's been, you know, he's a Ring of Honor legend. Like I've known about Red Titus, you know, like he's a legend. I wrestled him recently actually for back this past maybe like 6 months ago for this Puerto Rican company that were doing tapings out in the States. But I wrestled him recently, which was super cool. I wrestled Nunzio, aka Little Guido at GTS.
My God, that's
yeah. So I've wrestled like a couple cool people at GTS. So like those were like my first encounters with like, you know, wrestling legends at like random little spot shows. So you know, it was definitely a big learning experience, and definitely showed me a lot of like, hey man, you know, you can be content with wrestling on GTS, or there is a big wide world of wrestling outside of this place that you can make your mark in. And like that's wrestling at those humbling beginnings definitely gave me and all the guys that like hungry mindset of like, all right, like it's fun here, but we need to get better. We need to push ourselves. We need to like start getting out and like getting serious about this. Like that's what really helped us at GTS. It's like, all right, we have some capability. Something's there. The talent's there. You know, we have like a charisma to ourselves. We have the wrestling IQ. We just have to like go out and seek the knowledge and seek the experience. So, you know, I will always be grateful to Grimms for giving us that start and, you know, helping us develop that drive that we have today.
I love the fact that you mentioned Robbie E, because I knew him back when he was Rob Echoes, you know, with the NYWC. I was actually, before my time ended there, he was going to be part of the program that I was going to be involved in with another talent, Josh Daniels. That unfortunately didn't come to pass. But you mentioned TJ Crawford, who comes out of Creative Pro. The guy who trained me was the guy who trained him, Pat Buck. Yeah. And then, of course, you mentioned Nunzio, who made the odd appearance in NYWC as well. Not as much as Tony Mamaluke, I have to say. But again, all those connected. It's taking me back to my time in the circle, and I can't believe I'm dating myself. I feel old.
Well, when I hear Nunzio, I think the full-blooded Italians. When I think the full-blooded Italians, I think Tracy Smothers. Now, Griffin, can you, in honor of Tracy, do you know how to spell Doug?
Oh man, I I don't know how to spell it the way he spells it. I know exactly what you're talking about, but the catchphrase escapes me at the moment.
If I give
Like,
you,
it-
if I give you the, if I give it to you, will you say it?
Yeah, I will say it.
T is for terrible, H is for hell, U is for ugly, and G is for jail, because a Doug can't spell.
Yes. T is for terrible, H is for hoe, U is for ugly, and G is for jail because a thug can't spell. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Tracy Smothers was at the first ever professional wrestling show I ever wrestled on. And I was 16. This was for IWA Mid South, like
Oh,
2
man.
days before Christmas. It was like one of their tryout shows. And he was in the locker room that day. And like I just said what's up to him. But like I could just hear from I was actually watching him from like a distance because I was a 16-year-old, shy as hell. But you just heard him just like, telling jokes, ribbing people, just being like super cool locker room presence. And like that was a really cool experience on like my first show. Was being like, all right, I was a big ECW fan. Like obviously I wasn't born during that time, but with the network, being able to go back and watch and like, even seeing him like WCW when he was part of the Southern Boys and stuff, like kick-ass tag wrestler. But yeah, so that was really cool to like be able to meet him a couple of times. Never really like personally got to like pick his brain or too much, but just be able to be in the locker room with him was like I'm never gonna forget being in the locker room with Tracy Smothers.
That's awesome. Kaliko, you have a question.
I'm gonna bring up a person that you wrestled, Christian Robinson.
Yes.
And the reason I bring that up because he's going to be fighting Too Cold Scorpio next month.
Yes.
So I always say this: by proxy, if Christian Robinson beats Too Cold Scorpio, I think that means you're better than Too Cold Scorpio, right? That means you can take him, right?
You know what, man? Like, by the transitive property, you learn that shit in middle school. But I think that technically does, but obviously, but no, I am super excited for Christian to wrestle Too Cold Scorpio. Like, I'm just excited for him because, like, that, much like to, like, my experience wrestling Jimmy Rave, like, just being a learning experience, like, that is a huge learning experience. Like, Jordan wrestled him a little, like, a few months ago, too. And, just being able to, like, learn from Too Cold. And I've been on, like, a bunch of shows with him as of recently, ever since he came back. And he's always been, like, super cool, super down to earth, always willing to talk, always willing to, like, help out. He is, like, everything you want a professional wrestling veteran to be. Like, as a young guy coming up in this business, like, you want a dude like Too Cold in your locker room that you could, like, confide in and like ask advice and just to be like an all-around dope guy. But I am so stoked for Christian to wrestle him, and if he beats him, what I'm saying, like, there's my claim. I'm like, hey, my boy Jordan beat you, my boy Christian beat you. Too Cold, like, I'm not saying I can beat you too, but I think you should test it out at least. Like, we got to see what happens.
The evidence is there.
Exactly. I have a case.
Yes.
I know the Pythagorean theory: a squared equals b, a plus b squared, a plus b equals e squared. There you go.
Exactly.
C squared
That
equals
sounds about right.
a squared minus b squared. One of them damn things. My math is gone.
No, for certain.
Now, you are an Injustice Gods Among Us fan, correct?
Like sort of. Like I played the first one all the way through. I think I played the second one all the way through, but I've played them. But it's been like a couple years ago at this point.
Hmm. Are you a DC fan in general, or?
Yes, DC fan in general. I love comic books. I don't get to read them that much anymore, but when I was a kid, one of my uncles was a big comic book collector, and he had every edition of the original Teen Titans, like from the 80s. Like he had literally every single comic book. He had, I don't know how many of the Thor comic books he had, but he had a huge Thor collection. He had an X-Men collection, a Wolverine collection. What else? Like he had a lot of comic books, and like that gave me a big love. And but DC is I love the Marvel movies and the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I think DC has like the best characters and stories, and I think their animated movie series, like all their animated movies, are so good, so good. So yeah, I'm a big DC fan.
I actually couldn't agree more. Scooter, I know you have a follow-up question.
Okay. Now, I'm also a diehard Marvel fan, DC fan. Okay, let's make this interesting, because honestly, I'm not sure where James was leading me with that. But
No, I just thought you had a follow-up question.
what the hell? Let's make this fun. If you could book one Marvel superhero against one DC superhero, who would it be?
Ooh. I'm gonna try to think of a matchup that I've never seen before. Maybe oh man, they've done a lot. Maybe I'd like to see the Red Hood Jason Todd, like when he's like full psychopath, like full like kill mode, versus man, I want to say Wolverine, but you can't kill Wolverine, so like that kind of negates it. It needs to be someone like this. Needs to be a fight to the death, Like I love like the adult rated comics, where like they're like like people are dying for real. Like I've always been like a huge fan of that. Like
I still have the hard copy of the well, it's actually a graphic novel at that point, where the Joker kills Jason Todd.
Yes. But oh man, they came out with an animated movie, Under the Red Hood, and I watched that when I was like 10, and like, oh my god, that was so awesome. Like that animated movie was spectacular.
That was a good one.
Yeah, that was a good one. Maybe Jason Todd versus Iron Man, because they both got helmets. But I think because they're both like very strategic, Everyone says Batman versus Iron Man, but like maybe a little bit different. Maybe Jason Todd versus Iron Man, where Iron Man's in like real danger of being like murdered, because obviously Jason Todd is super intelligent, and I think he'd like a lot of strategy in that play, and definitely would have to push Iron Man to a new level. He kills people, and everyone just kind of like to glance that over, but like I think that would be a cool matchup.
All right. Taliko, you have a question.
Yes. You've held tag team title gold before. Have you ever had the aspiration of becoming a singles champion? And if so, what championship is in your goal sight?
So technically, I personally have not won a tag team title. The boys, Ellison and Charlie, won the GWC, the Georgia Wrestling Championship tag titles in AWE, However, we do operate under a Freeburg rule, so technically,
Damn right. So you're a champ.
So you're champion.
I am a champ. I'm gonna put that in my social media bio right now. But while we are at a team phase at this point, obviously Jordan's realizing his singles potential right now, but me, Charlie, and Ellis all have singles aspirations. Ever since we were kids, like we would always talk about, I'm gonna win WWE Championship. You're gonna win Intercontinental Championship. He's gonna win the World Heavyweight. We'll just all rotate those at some point, But I think what I'm setting my eyes on right now, probably the most attainable right now, is the Independent Wrestling Championship, which is currently held by my long lost half brother, Wheeler Yuta.
Oh,
so it's personal for me. It's personal for me. Me and Wheeler, ever since I started wrestling, everyone's been like, it's like, are you Wheeler's little brother? And I'm like, no, because that dude is also nowhere as near as handsome as me. But no, Wheeler, we have a personal relationship. He's always been like really cool, always helpful. He's a dude I consider a friend. But at the end of the day, this is business, and I want what he's got. And I've known him for a bit too. We both come up in the same like CZW system. We have that bond. But I think winning that championship for me is personal, especially from him, because my entire career I have been not like called his little brother, but like a lot of people are just like, oh, you look like Wheeler Yuta. Like, oh, are you Wheeler Yuta? And well, he's a phenomenal wrestler and he really loves himself. I am not Wheeler Yuta. I think I am better than Wheeler Yuta. So
damn
I think
straight.
coming after that that is damn straight. So I'm definitely coming after that strap that he's got around his belt right now. He thinks he's big man right now with his Ring of Honor contract and his his full beard. That's what everyone really likes about Wheeler right now. That he's got a full beard. He's always been that good at wrestling, but now he's got a beard. And everyone's like, oh, he looks handsome with his beard, but it's covering up his weak chin. So that's all I'm gonna say.
After the match, people will say to Wheeler Yuta, aren't you Griffin McCoy?
Oh, 100%. 100%. Like, oh, why are you trying to copy Griffin McCoy?
Yeah.
And then he will taste what it feels like to have that comparison. But I think he'll be more proud to be compared to Griffin McCoy than I am to Wheeler Yuta. Obviously, it's a compliment, but he'll be thanking his lucky stars to be compared to Griffin McCoy one day.
Now, on to a controversial subject. Pineapple on pizza. What's your stance?
So I was raised on pineapple on pizza, but not straight pineapple on pizza. It's always been pepperoni and pineapple. I literally had pepperoni and pineapple pizza like last night. I had like one slice because I'm an athlete. But yeah. So I rock with pineapple on pizza. However, I will say I was raised on it. So
Okay.
I like Hawaiian pizza too, where it's like the ham, pineapple, and like whatever else they got on there. So I'm also from San Francisco, California. I think it's a lot more popular out on the West Coast,
Yes.
because obviously there's that South Pacific Islander influence on the West Coast, especially where I grew up. So pineapple on pizza was never taboo or like an internet sensation like it is right now. Like people could not care less back when I was growing up. They didn't have the internet, but now people can make a fuss about it. Some people live under a rock or in the middle of nowhere, so they have they're not exposed to it. But I've been exposed to it from a very young age. I like it. It contrasts the salty and the sweet if you pair it together, in a good combination. So I am in full support of pineapple on pizza.
All right. What's your spirit Pokemon?
My spirit Pokemon, man. I really liked Scyther as a kid because he could fly and he had the cool blades. But now he's just a mid-level Pokemon. As a kid you didn't really know the different tiers.
Right.
But I think now I'm trying to evolve in into like, I want to be like a Blastoise one day, just like a big, like a Hulk, I think I'm like whatever is in between a Squirtle and a Blastoise right now. I forget what the middle transition is, but I feel like that's where I'm at. I'm trying to become Blastoise. But yeah, but maybe that.
Blastoise is the middle.
Oh, then what's the third?
War Turtle.
War Turtle.
Oh, War Turtle. Yeah. I'm trying to be that. I'm trying to be War Turtle. Right now, I'm just a Blastoise, But that's still pretty cool, man. Like, everyone wants to be fucking Charmander, but, I'm definitely more water type. Definitely more water.
I find it funny that you mentioned Scyther because, again, in the NYWC, we actually said someone competing under the name Scyther.
Wow. That's a good wrestling name. Maybe like mid-2000s wrestling name. Maybe not nowadays, but mid-2000s, that'd be a really good wrestling name.
But you can really use it because Pokemon are legitimately, they're very protective of their content. So he would have been slapped with some type of lawsuit. But it's funny you bring up the Charmander because a good majority of our guests have gone with Charmander.
Yeah.
And, of course, the weirdest question you'll ever be asked on a wrestling podcast. Would you ever consider wrestling a rock? Not Dwayne Johnson, Scooter.
Not the country.
An actual rock.
An actual rock. I mean, people have wrestled Invisible Men and sex dolls and they've wrestled brooms. Yeah, they've wrestled a lot of things. So, man, if I was being paid and people showed up, I would most certainly wrestle a rock. I put on a 5-star match with the rock. I'd make it work.
There you go.
Wrestling is a very kooky place. And, I think you're a fool if you turn down, kooky matches. That is a once in a lifetime experience to wrestle a rock. Like, people are going to pay to watch you wrestle a rock. Like, you got to do that. That's a great story one day.
Just for context, there's this guy named Psycho Mike that wrestled an actual rock for over 15 minutes in what was dubbed in a Tungsten Man match, an Iron Man match that lasts for 2 weeks straight.
Or a fortnight.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's actually based out of Ontario.
Yeah, Backyard Pro. Scooter, you have any last questions?
Yes, one more. Oh, actually, I have two, but you know what? I think this one will be more interesting. Now, you've come into contact with a former WWE, well, not a former, current WWE Hall of Famer, former WWE Tag Team Champion. Of course, I'm talking about Saba Simba. No, wait a minute. I'm talking about Tony Atlas.
Yes.
How did that encounter come to be? Did he choose you? Were you just thrown in there? Or how did that come to be?
So this has a little bit of backstory. So when this past WrestleMania in Tampa, obviously they did the whole like independence coming to Tampa, running for the week before WrestleMania. So Tony Atlas was at one of the shows at the Cuban Club, and I guess it was either Jordan came out. I'm pretty sure like Jordan was wrestling or something, and the Young Dumb song came on, and then footage picked up Tony Atlas dancing to the Young Dumb song. So, this was at the hybrid show. I came out, I wrestled, I came out to the Young Dumb song, won my match, and I guess he just just started dancing to the song, and it drew people's attention. And of course, I had to be like, I'm like, yo, Tony Atlas, why are you dancing to my song right now? You're stealing my moment. I get people. I appreciate that you like the song, but you're stealing like half the crowd looked over and saw Tony Atlas dancing, and like, you know, I just won my match. Like, the focus should be on me. So obviously I had to call him out, and he just decided to, he started disrespecting me a little bit. I don't take disrespect too kindly, especially from you can't back down from a Hall of Famer. Like, if you back down from someone over you, people will always be over you, is what I've come to learn. And so in that moment, I had to realize, like, I got to do what I got to do. He's disrespecting me. I had to take it to him. But obviously, like, he's a Hall of Famer for a reason, and started beating me up a little bit. But, at the end, after it, though, he got back on the mic and during the live stream and said he wanted to beat me up and wrestle me. But obviously, I think he's ducking me now, too, because I think he realizes that he couldn't hang with a young stud like Griffin McCoy. Future WWE Hall of Famer, future WWE legend.
It sounds like you have a list of, people that you need to kind of cross off, correct?
Yeah, I got a list, there's definitely people. Of course, there's people who I would love, like, dream matches and whatever. But, like, there's definitely a list of people right now who are currently within my grasp that have disrespected me in some sort of way. And, like Michael Jordan says, I take that shit personally, like,
right.
I take, I'm a super competitive person in my normal day-to-day life. I don't know why I have always been so competitive, but, the list adds on weekly, there's always some point at some show where someone, it's not like total disrespect, but it's like, all right, this guy does not take me seriously, or this man, woman, or beast does not put the respect on my name as they should, and I will add them to the list. So, like, Billie Starkz can come get it, Tony Atlas can come get it, Wheeler obviously can come get it. Like, there's a lot of
Yeah, he's gonna come and get it because he exists.
Yeah, exactly. Even if your existence is, I take that shit personally. So, if you exist, you can come find me in that ring, and I'm gonna put you down.
Now, Kaliko, you have a colossal question.
I don't think I should say colossal because I think colossal Mike Law's on that list. But
oh yeah, that guy. Oh my God. I don't know when this is coming out. Probably not before I have this match on Saturday. But colossal Mike Law. Oh my God. Yo, that guy. He's been in this business for a good bit. He's training people down at Battle Club, the Fallout Shelter. Good for him. But I tell you what, he has been subtly sneak dissing me. He has been acting like he is gonna, like, oh, you're gonna keep up, kid? Get out of here, man. Like, I don't know what you do for your training. I don't know what you do to prepare yourself for your matches. But I assume it's a lot of sitting on your ass and eating potato chips. Like, you got fake weights.
Ooh.
You are not colossal. You are 4 foot nothing. I will squash you, son. I don't care, man. Man. If there's a match you guys should watch, whenever that match comes out, I'm gonna beat the dog crap out of Mike Law. That's all I'm gonna say.
Wait, hold on. What do you think of that, Mike? Wait, no.
Yeah, no. I wish he was on here right now. I wish he was on here. I would roast his ass. I'm gonna roast his ass on Saturday. That's all I'm gonna say.
And that's this Saturday, the 27th, correct?
The 28th, August 28th.
Okay.
In West Virginia at the Blue Wave Center. I forget the town, but the Blue Wave Center, West Virginia. N as in nighttime, CW, National Championship Wrestling. That's when that's going down.
All right.
I feel disrespected that they give me Mike Law.
Fallens B, West Virginia.
Fallens B. Well, how could I even forget Fallings B, West Virginia is the place to be. I don't think there have been many people who have said Fallings B, West Virginia is the place to be, but it will be the place to be to witness an ass whooping of a lifetime.
I wonder if a future guest that we're looking to get, who also works in the West Virginia area, is going to be a part of that show. Have to see.
What's the name?
Miss Hannah.
I don't know if I know her.
Possibly.
Now, Kaliko, you have that question that is about music, and that thing, it's definitely not named after that guy that Griffin is going to kick his ass on Saturday, correct?
Yeah, pretty much that. Not that question.
Yes.
So, you've been wrestling for a hot little minute. You moving up. Let's say you get famous. They make a movie. One of those BTS kids are gonna be starring as you in the wrestling movie. Every movie has a soundtrack. So, what would be the first five songs that best resemble your wrestling career up until this point?
Oh man, that's a great question. Dang. The 5 songs. That's a really good question. I'm a huge music guy. Oh man. Give me 2 seconds to look through my playlist right now. Because there are definitely songs that I'm like, that hype me up for wrestling. Oh man. I'm also like a huge, yeah. I'm also like a huge like I love mafia movies and stuff like that, like Goodfellas, Casino, you name it. So I'm really into like 50s doo-wop for like really randomly. Like I'm really into like hardcore like cocaine gangster rap, and then like 50s doo-wop is like my other passion. But so it's like a really wide range. I also love like rock and like metal and stuff like that too. But maybe maybe I gotta shout out my guy Freddie Gibbs. He's like my favorite rapper. Maybe Crime Pays by Freddie Gibbs is one of my go-tos. Hot by Young Thug featuring Gunna. That's my theme song, like my actual theme song. So I think that's gotta make it into the playlist at some point. That's 2. Oh yeah, exactly. You already know. Man. I wish I had time to research. Maybe you gotta throw MF Doom in there. I really love the song "Rap Snitch Knishes." That's gonna find its way into the playlist somewhere.
Oh man, MF Doom, rest in peace. Oh
yeah, rest in peace, the Mad Villain. Like, man, this past couple years been crazy, dude. I don't know. You lost MF Doom, world might as well end. But yeah, he's got to be in it. My boy Benny the Butcher. I gotta throw in. Man, he's been dropping a lot of heat recently.
Yeah, he has
a whole lot of heat. But
he has.
I love 5 to 50 off of his the Plugs I Met the first Plugs I Met album. So 5 to 50. What's that? Am I at 4 right now?
You're at 4.
4? Oh
yes.
Man.
One more.
This is so tough. I'm gonna throw in a curveball. No one knows the song unless you're like from Latin America, but it's called "Amor de mis amores." No, actually, not that song. "A través del vaso." "A través del vaso." It's a very popular song in it might be. I think it's like maybe it's Guatemala. I don't know. It's a very popular song in Latin America. But yeah, that song, like, it is like a full like love song or whatever about this guy. He essentially at a bar talking to the bartender about how his love left him and how he'll travel. I don't know what Vaso means, but I mean like the valley, I think, or something like that. But yeah, I really like that song too, and that song has recently meant a lot to me. But so that's like a curveball. But those 5 songs off the top of my head, just like scrolling through my playlist right now, that would have to be in the soundtrack to the Griffin McCoy biopic.
Now you have the 5 songs. Do you lock it in?
Yeah, I like those things.
All right, we are locked in.
Is that Banda Los Sebastianos?
I don't know. There's like a couple of. I know it's like a folk song. You know.
Atrabas del Lasso.
Yeah. It's what's the version I got on my phone?
La Trazi Canción para Escuchar.
Yeah. It's by, I guess the one that's on my phone is Grupo Blanque, but I know there's like a couple different versions. You know, there's like the actual the actual like band version of it by Banda Los Sebastianes.
Yep.
But yeah, no, that's a good song. If you guys like what's it, Colombian cumbia music, Amor de mis amores is a banger. You know, that's a really good song.
I live in Queens. There's cumbia music everywhere.
Oh really? Oh yeah, you man. You've probably heard Amor de mis amores. That song goes hard.
See, I'm always been into Brazilian music, like Jorge Bim. Like that dude got
really?
it. That dude.
Yeah, I gotta check it out. I love
Cadê Teresa? That shit goes hard. It's like Gianni Teresa. That shit go hard.
Wait, what's his name again?
Jorge Ben. B-E-N.
Oh, I already got it. I already got it. I'm looking up right now. Yeah, I love Latin music and all that stuff. You know, I'm not gonna lie. So I grew up in like California, San Francisco, and then I moved to San Diego when I was around 7-ish. So I've always been around like, you know, like Latinos and all that stuff. But like I've always been a little scared of Mexico. However, I would love to go travel and wrestle there, just so I can test out all my Spanish and like use all the curse words I've learned and see how people react. You know.
I've been to Mexico. I got the revenge. I ain't going back.
Yeah, it might be like a one and done kind of deal. You know, if I go with WWE one day, like, you know, they're gonna take care of me, make sure I don't get robbed or nothing like that. But you know, like be going on like an independent stage, like it's a little sketchy to be going over there, like at this point in my life. So like I'm a little hesitant to do it. However, like I would love to go and like tour Latin America one day, like all of you know, Latin America and South America. Like that'd be super dope.
Well, someone's gonna buy the CMLL, the company, and the venue in its entirety, because they're looking to sell. So that's probably going to be sooner rather than later.
Oh, they're looking to sell the whole company?
Yep.
Really? I did not know that.
Now, it is once again time for that segment. Griffin McCoy's Bizarre Adventure. You are a wrestler that goes up and down the road, and weird, crazy, and bizarre things are bound to happen. Can you tell us a road story that fits that description?
Oh man, a bizarre road story. Man, at this point, I feel like everything's probably bizarre, and like just being in the wrestling business, like I'm just numb to it. Like you don't realize how bizarre it is until probably like it's too late. But oh man, what's a bizarre wrestling story that I have on the road? I don't know if this is bizarre. This is definitely one of like, it's like one of like, no, they're not like the worst, but we did a show up in New York State, Wild Zero. They don't run anymore, but we did the show relatively close to us, like 4 hours away, not too bad. But coming back, we were an hour outside Philly, which is kind of where we're all based in and around. And we ran over a dead deer.
Ooh.
And yeah, we ran over a dead deer, and we were just stuck on the side of the road for 6 hours straight. Like it was, oh my god, like just out in like the cold. I was wearing shorts. I had to put on like my wrestling pants to keep me warm. Like we were all just delirious, standing on the side of the road for like 5 hours in the cold, waiting for like AAA to like open back up and come get someone to get us. And we had to ultimately like take like an hour and a half Uber ride home to get home. And we were like an hour outside of like our destination, and we were just stuck there for so long. It was like, you know, it was the definition of so close, but yet so far. Like I knew how to walk home from there, but like to walk would have taken, it probably would have taken the exact amount of time it took to wait. But you know, you're not walking for 6-7 hours, you know.
Yeah.
But that's one of my wrestling stories. Man, I definitely got more, but they're all escaping me at the moment. If I ever come back, I'll definitely be more prepared.
Oh, I was definitely going to say, when we bring you back, you could tell us more road stories.
Yeah, I'll definitely have like a much better one to tell. You know, that one was kind of just that was light. That was light.
Scooter, you have your last question.
Okay. Came across an interesting photo on your Instagram where you're posing amongst what appears to be a load of, as far as I could tell, empty beer bottles. Now, some would say, oh, you know, beer bottles, you know, handsome people don't drink beer. What's the story behind that photo?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. So that is one of my hobbies, I guess. It's like a family hobby, I guess, with me, my dad, and my brother. We do home brewing at my house. So it's something we picked up. Yes. Yeah. So we picked up, so this was obviously over quarantine. We were all like trapped in the house, like, all right, what are we going to do? And, you know, I am half Filipino and then half Irish and German on the other side. So needless to say, I come from a bloodline of partiers.
Happy you love to eat, happy you love to drink.
Yes. So, you know, it was the obvious next step. So yeah, me, my dad, and my brother all started home brewing at my house. We started just like over quarantine. And honestly, it is like way easier than you would think. It's like a month-long process, but it's just literally 2 days of work. Like it's one day to brew it and get everything ready, like for fermentation. You know, you just get a big pot, you steep some grains, you pour in the malt extracts and the hops and all that stuff, and you essentially boil it all together over a period of time. You cool it all off. You put it into a big like bucket, essentially, like you know, like kind of like when you get at Home Depot, but you know, it's specifically for fermentation. You let it ferment. You stick it. You put it in the bucket. You let it ferment for like 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, you bottle it, and that's like it takes like an hour to bottle it all. And but you know, you get like I think we get around like 46 to 52 bottles per batch. So you know, you do that day. You wait another 2 weeks for it to what's it called? Carbonize. Get the carbonation.
Yep.
You find like a little yeast into the whatever it is, and then you bottle it, and that creates the pressure. And after 2 weeks after that, you have your beer. So it is, you know, it takes a month, but it's literally 2 days of work.
Did you end up with an ale or a lager? Was it dark or light?
So we've how many beers? I think we've done like 6
Really?
or so different kinds of beer. I think we started on a brown ale. Well, we just did a Belgian triple, which I think has been my favorite one so far, is our most recent batch. We did how much alcohol content? I think on the Belgian triple.
I actually said just like a Hefeweizen.
Oh yeah. Oh, we did. Yeah, we did a Hefeweizen as well. But yeah, we did that. I think we did like an Irish stout, like almost like a Guinness
Ooh,
or
wow.
whatever. Yeah, version. Like we've done this one. Oh my god, I forget what it's called, but it's like this like really old beer that used to be famous in Europe back in the day. It's like a raspberry beer almost. I forget what the name is, but it was
You're,
like one of the most popular beers in like
you're talking
16th, 15th century.
you're talking about something like mead, are you?
Nah, it wasn't mead. It wasn't mead. I would have to ask, but it was like a raspberry beer. It was really good too. Very different, very different. But
Uh,
it was
are
the
you
history behind it was like one of the most popular beers.
are you talking about a Fremois? Like a
I
Belgian
don't
white?
honestly. I could not. I do not remember the name of it. Like I don't know why it escaped me right now, but I totally forget what
It
that
it,
batch is called.
it could be Bacchus. I'm a beverage snob. Most would say I consider it connoisseur. Um, it might be Bacchus, but I actually I homebrew root beer,
Oh
and
really?
I'm trying to figure out. What I've been trying to figure out for a very long time how to make a craft cola.
Interesting.
It's a very very difficult process, but I love that. I love that homebrew. Love it absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's because you have like a canned beer and like it's fine, but like there is a whole different kind of like it's fresh, like you never be like, oh yeah, that beer is fresh, but when you do it at home, you do home brewing, like it does have a certain like crispness and a freshness to it that you're not gonna get in like your normal off the shelf or out in the fridge beer that you get at like your supermarket or liquor store.
I mean, the quality of the hops also has to, come into play and everything, and the extra, additional flavors. Like some people use orange rind, star anise, and all that good stuff. Love it.
Yeah, there's a lot you can do with it. A lot.
Now, Kalika, do you have one last question?
Yes, that's with all this beer talk, your nickname's Bougie. So are you bougie with the beer now?
Yeah, I guess so. Like I will say, I'm definitely drinking my Natty Lights and PBRs and Coors Lights and Bud Lights and Budweiser.
You
They're all
mean piss
good. They're all
water, piss water, piss water.
yeah.
Trailer park
Def-
beer.
Definitely Natty Light is straight up piss water. We've all been in high school at one point, and that was your best option. But nowadays, I am definitely a bougie boy when it comes to my alcohol. Like, I'll still drink it, but I do prefer what we brew at my house. Like, there's always like a stock at my house, so I will prefer to drink mine, like our kind of beer. I do like Corona, I like Modelo, but beer and liquor, like I like good bourbon, I like good whiskey, I like good gin, I like me a good tequila. I'll mess around with some Tito's vodka, but I'm definitely more of like
Tito's.
but I'm not trying to drink like bottom shelf anymore. I'm only 21, but those days are over for me. I'm only drinking at least mid to top.
All right. Now, on a more serious note, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
5 years, I will be 6 years old. I expect to either be. I'm either going to be in New Japan, I'm either going to be in NXT, or I'm going to be on Impact. But by 26, my ass better have a contract at that point, or have had a contract at that point. Even like by that point, I should have had at least like an MLW contract. But by 26, like, that's when things are definitely starting to pick up. Like, that's when I'm definitely starting to get like, booked globally. Like I fully expect to be doing like UK, Mexico, Canada, Japan. Like I will be, if I'm not totally signed, I'm still on the indies, I am definitely a world traveling independent wrestler. Like, I am, like, you know, that's when the athletic prime is really starting to kick off at that point, you know? Like, that's when business has already been picked up. Like, at that point, I fully expect to be on some form of television or traveling globally every month. Like, that is the level I expect to be at. I expect to be at total elite athlete stage by the time I'm 26.
And what is a match people should go out of their way to see that best shows off what Griffin McCoy is all about?
Ooh, match that would best show what Griffin McCoy is all about. Oh man, I just had a really good match this weekend against Smiley. He's I don't know if you guys know him, but he's like in the New York, New Jersey area mostly. But he's super creative, highly underrated. Wrestling for House of Glory. But I just had a match against him at Global Syndicate Wrestling on this past Saturday for a tape, and that's not gonna come out till like Thanksgiving time. But that match was really good. Maybe as of recently, what have I done recently? Maybe oh man, if you can find that Red Titus match from that Puerto Rican company, that was a really good match. I wrestled a triple threat for H2O against the Whisper and young up-and-comer Reed Walker. That match, you know, you can definitely see what Griffin McCoy is about in that one. Yeah, that match. I do a lot of single stuff for Catalyst Wrestling. They're on Fight TV. If you go seek that out, like that will have a lot of good of my single stuff on there as well.
All right. And since we are nearing the conclusion of this interview, we are wrestling with the 8 questions of doom.
No actual doom to be in.
This is our bonus round, our speed round, the round where we see who you really are. Are you ready, Griffin?
Yes, I am.
Excluding yourself, greatest wrestler of all time.
Greatest wrestler of all time? Ooh. I'm going to have to say, everyone says Shawn Michaels or Ric Flair, but I want to be different. But obviously, those you can't deny that they're greatest of all time. Maybe, I will say, maybe of like modern era, it might be CM Punk. Because obviously he just came back to AEW, but like he went viral for coming back, and like SportsCenter was tweeting about it, Bleacher Report, like news, like avenues, and like and like normal sports like conglomerates and companies were like talking about wrestling, specifically about CM Punk. And I know for a lot of my generation right now, I know personally for me, like CM Punk's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. Like he is what not only got me into like wanting to be a professional wrestler, he's what got me into like the independent wrestling scene, because he would talk about Ring of Honor and like, he would reference it, and that would drive a lot of people to go find out about the independents. So I think maybe, I don't know about greatest wrestler of all time, but he is definitely like Mount Rushmore of like modern era wrestling, for how like influential he is, not just on a wrestling standpoint, but on a pop culture level. Like at a certain point, like people knew CM Punk just as much as John Cena. I think John Cena, if we're going with like a classical answer, John Cena might be the greatest wrestler of all time, just because of the heights, he's at right now. But I would say either CM Punk or John Cena are my top two, or my top number one tied for greatest wrestler of all time. Maybe John Cena 1A, CM Punk 1B.
Ooh, man, CM Punk, you just made me like, I'm about to go drink to that.
Yeah, yes sir.
Worst wrestler of all time.
Worst wrestler of all time? Oh shit, man. Man, I have been on plenty of shows where I thought I have met the worst wrestler of all time. So, I don't know, maybe on like a nationally televised level, worst wrestler of all time. Oh man, who is really bad? Maybe I feel like it's gotta be someone on TNA, you know, like that I've seen as a kid. I'm like they let that guy on TV. I don't know. I don't know who I really hated as a kid. You know, I really loved Ryback as a kid, but I know everyone does not like him. Like looking back, I probably would not like Ryback, but he's definitely not the worst wrestler of all time. But oh man, maybe I don't want to put David Otunga on blast, but I never understood how David Otunga had a job in wrestling and like got into WWE. Obviously, he's like, you know, really articulate and like great body, but like as a kid, I'm like, how did they let David Otunga take a spot on the WWE roster?
Oh, his wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably his wife, but you know, at that time as a kid, you know,
Ex-wife now.
probably a super dope dude. Yeah, right. But yeah, maybe David Otunga might be towards the bottom of the barrel for me, just personally though.
All right, David Otunga. Now, your main event in WrestleMania for the World Championship. Who is your opponent?
Oh man. You know, if Bobby Lashley didn't beat Goldberg, I would have loved to beat Goldberg for the championship because, you know, he's like ultimate super boss. So that would have been like, all right, I beat Goldberg. I can't really lose to anyone else. But I would love to beat Brock Lesnar for the World Heavyweight Championship because no one beats Brock Lesnar. Only Brock Lesnar beats Brock Lesnar. So if I beat Brock Lesnar for the World Heavyweight Championship, I would automatically be the most badass wrestler of all time. So, you know, I would love to wrestle and beat, you know, specifically beat Brock Lesnar for the World Heavyweight Championship.
Well, we know the only thing that beats Brock Lesnar is genetics. So
there you go.
If you could come out to anyone's entrance music, past or present, who would it be?
Oh, Triple H, 100%. Triple
Which
H
one?
is my. Ooh, you know, I think at this stage of my life, I'm definitely it's not the game, but it's the one before that where it's like
My Time.
my time. Is this on? Yeah, that one. I think that's the stage of Triple H I'm at right now, personally. But I would love to come out to the game. You know, that's my favorite theme song. Favorite wrestler of all time is Triple H.
Oh yeah.
I would love to come out. I used to sing that song every day in the shower before I went to school. You know, like I would have that on, I would play it, I'd, you know, time my shower, chew the entire song where I would hit the water spit, you know.
that.
Oh yeah.
And spit some water.
Exactly. It's the best part. It's the best part. I spit water in my entrance to this day when I come out because of Triple H.
That's awesome. Finish the sentence. Kayfabe is.
Oh man. I don't want to say dead because it shouldn't be. Because you know what, man? As much as like fans want the curtain to be completely pulled down, no one really wants it to. You know, like
Right.
everyone wants to believe. Like people watch wrestling not to be like, oh, I have an inside scoop. Like, you know, the normal person watches wrestling to be fully submerged into wrestling. Even when I'm wrestling, I am fully submerged into wrestling. Like everything is real to me. Because you know what? Everything is 100% real. You know, like you cannot fake the pain. You cannot fake the heartbreak. You cannot fake the hard work. Nothing is fake about professional wrestling. There are people in it who make it fake, but professional wrestling in sport is not fake. I have the bumps, the bruises, and the scars to prove it. Like, so you know, kayfabe is is in incognito mode right now. You know, it is not very prominent, but it is still there. And I think when wrestling, like, it's going through a little bit of a boom right now, but, you know, when people bring back kayfabe for real, I think that's when wrestling will really take off again. I think that's when it'll become like the mainstream stage that it was back in like the 90s and the 80s. And even the early 2000s. Like, it was really because of the internet that kayfabe kind of quote unquote died. But I think kayfabe can still be revived, just in an alternate form, in a different evolution.
I love that answer. New Japan wrestler Taichi, his ring gear gets smaller every year, revealing more of himself to the world. My question, what is the appropriate trunks to butt cheek ratio for ring gear?
You know, man, I've been told many times in my life that I got a great butt. So I'd probably be a lot more ahead in my wrestling career, at least with the fans, if I showed off my butt more. So, but, you know, if you're a dude, though, man, like, you know, there's a lot of wrestlers out here. There's some ugly dudes. Like, I do not want to see your hairy butt. Like, you may shave your thighs, but you do not shave your butt, dude. Like, I know that for a fact. I can see that. So, if you're a guy, man, you gotta be able to, like, do a deep squat, and it doesn't go past your cheeks. You know, like, you gotta be able to move around, and it doesn't ride up all the way up your butt crack. But, you know, if you're a female, like, you know, half the time for these ladies, like, that is their moneymaker. You can have that ride up as short as you like. You know, I am not, you know, that's your money right there. So you can do what you got to do. It's all good to me. But if you're a guy, and, you know, more specifically, if you're a guy who doesn't shave his butt, like, you know, you better have that covered, you know, like, if you're going to have that ride up, you know, like, you know, all power to you. But, you know, I better not be looking at one hairy asshole. That's all I'm going to say.
And the last question, the main event, the thing everybody wants to know. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin?
About Darby Allin? No. Not Darby Allin, but professional wrestling, yes.
And that is the correct answer. And I will conclude this interview. Thank you so much, Griffin, for coming on and doing this with us.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And once again, where can we find you on social media, your merchandise, and everything in between?
Yes, so I am on Instagram and Twitter. I'm also on Facebook too, but that's basically if you're a promoter, you can hit me up on Facebook. But Instagram and Twitter, I'm at the Griffin McCoy, all one word. For bookings or for merchandise, you can either hit me up on my social media, or you can hit me up on my email, griffin.mccoysf at gmail.com. And that can be for my bookings and my merchandise.
And you don't even have to look for it. All of that will be in the description of the video below, both on YouTube and Castbox. You've been listening to him for 2 hours. Buy a damn shirt.
Wow, 2 hours. Yeah, you can buy a damn shirt. That's damn straight. They're nice shirts, man. I will tell you what. I have had many a female compliment, buy, the ladies like my shirt, so that's all I'm gonna say. It might help you out one day. If it does, you don't have to thank me. I already know.
And if you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment, vote on YouTube and Castbox. This episode was sponsored by Rogue Energy. Use promo code WRESTLINGWITHE. Join us next Wednesday as we interview Kiefer Bartek. So you do not want to miss that. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at WrestlingWithE, and you can follow us individually as well. I am at JamesJ993. Where can they find Kaliko?
You can find me running like hell from Brock Lesnar in Las Vegas at I Am Kaliko.
And where can they find Scooter?
You can always find me at Scooter Dust on Twitter and of course, join me and Rico Casatino Jr. on Twitch, twitch.tv/Smoking Dragons.
Now, Griffin, when I say wrestling wit, you say entertainment.
Gotcha.
For our very special guest, Griffin McCoy, Scooter Dust, Coleco Yachts, I'm James J, and this has been Wrestling Wit.
Entertainment.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.